Hello, Yuliia. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting.
Welcome to Chile.
Thank you very much, and thank you for this conversation.
Yeah. Well, first of all, of course, congratulations for the festivals. I think Dogu Days has a really important role nowadays, of course, in the context of what is happening in Ukraine. And I wanted to ask you like a general question, like for you personally, like what do you think is like the role of documentary filmmaking, and also the role that Dogu Days is making there, like in the context of war, of invasion? What do you think is the role there?
Of course, I can talk, a long time about the role of the documentaries, the film genre, that what you can reveal with the documentaries, like considering, of course, what's happening not only in Ukraine but all over the world, and it can be also the tool to fight for like truth or to fight back the propaganda or something like that. But in Ukraine, it's quite particular because for Ukrainian circumstances in which we are living, not only like since 2022, but even a little bit before, like earlier, documentary filmmaking is much quicker and, to be honest, cheaper way to react on what's going on around you. And actually, the documentary filmmaking in Ukraine started drastically expanding and developing after 2014, after the revolution and after the first invasion of Russia in Ukraine. And there were a lot of young people who were like thinking, I would like to rethink what's going on in my country and with me itself in this country, but I need the tool and hide the tool. And what they had actually the mobile phone with the camera, and they started doing something in direction of the documentary filmmaking, but there were a lack of knowledge, of skills. So that's why they started learning, studying, making networks and stuff like that. So in 2022, after the beginning of the full-scale invasion, we already have a generation of young filmmakers who already had some skills and some knowledges how can they film what's happening in Ukraine, and they were more or less ready to that. While many people were fleeing Ukraine in some other countries, almost all the documentary filmmakers actually were going in the opposite side to the front line and filming what's happening in Ukraine. It was really like, in terms of cultural diplomacy, it was really helpful. Of course, you have like materials. Of course, you have films, witnesses, and persons who were there in person. So it was easy to reach the film festivals abroad, to reach film communities abroad, to show them the materials, and to maybe to communicate also what we need at the moment. Of course, we need support, but also we need very precise things like technique. We need cameras, we need bulletproof stuff like that. In Docu Days, our festival was actually doing much more than simply the festival. We were, of course, assisting filmmakers to reach the international audience, to reach the international community, to bring them to these communities and to make this meetings happen. We were also collecting some money for the Ukrainian filmmakers so that they were able to go to the front line and continue working on the films, because Ukrainian State Film Agency was not able to, to support and to cover their activities. So what we actually was doing and still doing in Ukraine is much, much wider than simply the festival, simply the festival, simply moving, simply like something. Of course, we would love, to be honest, do only a film festival, only screening films and, only making art. But unfortunately, you need to do something extra.
and you make, so of course, and there's something really valuable about that. And also you have a work with young audience, a lot of itineraries, like moving the films and also working with young people, with audience, to stimulate, I imagine, I don't know, like critical thinking about what is happening, whatever. How is the work with that? I found really particular, like in this kind of different things from film festival, like working with young audience and to stimulate critical thinking in a context of political complexity as it is.
Yep,
I
yep.
don't know.
Actually, what was surprise for us ourselves after 2022, that we discovered that our audience is getting younger, while we're getting older.
Really?
So this is also like the challenge for each, like for every festival, to make this connection between your audience, of course. Even, moreover, if this audience is getting younger, so you need to find some way to reach them, to bring them the films that they really would love to see and to be interested in it. So it's kind of, I'm not sure that we have some precise answer on how we can deal with the young audience and how we can work with them if your festival is a little bit older than your audience. But what we are trying to do is making something beside the film screenings. We also have a section of discussions that are completely open for everyone. There are no tickets and no registrations. You simply can go there and to discuss some topics. And usually these topics are not strictly related to the filmmaking, but a little bit wider, like what we can do with the films, how we can organize not only film screenings, but also how we can I don't know, for instance, make some cultural diplomacy or something like that. I mean, something that would every single person have an opinion about. So
sure.
Everybody, on the street would say, oh, okay, if I would love to to make some cultural diplomacy, I would screen this film, and this film. This is something really discussable and high topic. So we try to involve this young audience with this, attractive topics. But then we try to invite them to a little bit deeper thinking, trying to also I don't want to use this word teach, but we try them to to show how you can discuss the film, because
mediate.
Yes, and also to have these questions on the film, to be critical toward the films. We also have a section that is completely dedicated to the very young audience, like teenagers and kids. It's too early for them to discuss, very seriously films, but we start working with them at this age. And one of colleague of mine, she is also working with the Ukrainian Ministry of Education, and she tries to influence on the school education programs so that to bring into them some kind of, some very early and very small steps, but toward the discussion how we can discuss the films, because films are not only entertainment. Sometimes it's very painful, sometimes it's really complicated, sometimes they raise very uncomfortable questions on political context, on very bad things in the world, but you need to face them and you need to discuss something.
Yeah, and in that terms, I think interesting also to ask you, because you make a great job, of course, as a festival, and also in terms of putting the films worldwide with the filmmakers. And I wanted to ask you, in the local context, apart from the festival, I don't know, how, this documentary production that you say that in these last 11 years has been kind of a lot and a revival, I don't know, in this context. I imagine also in terms of the Russian propaganda that moves in terms of kind of images, that it's how they circulate. No. Are they promoted? I don't know. I'm thinking in television. I'm thinking in communal. I don't know, cinemas. Do you think they have a space there to navigate in the local context these kind of images?
Almost the same question I have to you, actually, to Chile. It would be interesting for me to hear how it's going in Chile, because in Ukraine we are not really successful example here, because I feel that Ukrainian audience is very interested became a little bit more interested in documentaries after 2023, when the first Oscar was brought to with a film of Mstislav Chernov about the Mariupol, and then we had the theatrical release of this film in Ukraine, and it was wide example for the wider audience in Ukraine that documentaries can be really something powerful, and people started going to the cinemas beside the festival, because of course we have our bubble, our festival audience, and they are very dedicated to the screenings at docu-days, but throughout the year, the theatrical release of like documentaries is not something that, you know, very successful, to be honest, and we're still working on that, and we try also to bring Ukrainian films on at least an alternative release in circulation around the country, because we're also doing the traveling festival in autumn, and we bring this like the small selection of films from our program in different cities, in different towns, and mostly it's about screenings in, you know, in some libraries, in some schools. Sometimes it's really nice because it's also about the screenings in small villages where there no any other way to watch any film besides, you know, except of this screening like on a laptop. You gather your friends and you are watching the film on a laptop. Very nice. I mean, but it's not the, you know, theatrical release. Yeah. So we still struggle it, and we of course still continue working with the distributors, but some distributors are already with us, so they're on our side, but we're still working with cinemas who of course are a little bit afraid of like having documentaries because they're still not very successful.
And in this experience you have with FIDOCS, that you make this exchange. Now in FIDOCS there's a specific section you curated. Yep. I understand with programmers here from Chile, 3 films that are kind of different approaches, I don't know, like working with different footage, you know, archive, or really kind of, not observational, but like following there in the place, and the other one more, I don't know, daily life, whatever. It's how was the experience of building this curation to show, and also how you connect this with the experience of showing Chilean films there in Ukraine. I don't know, I found interesting this thing and how resonates. What have the insights that you have about this collaboration?
What I really love about this collaboration and this exchange is that each of us had enough of space to present the films that are from like our point of view, something that can tell you something about our countries and about the filmmaking in our countries. So how we were working on the selection of Chilean films for DocuDays, we asked actually our colleagues from FIDOCS to give us some selection of films, and we simply like checked whether all these films will be understandable in very simple ways, like context or something like that, to the Ukrainian audience, and most of them were completely understandable for us and for the Ukrainian audience. And actually, it was the meeting between the Ukrainian audience and the Chilean documentaries from the Chilean perspective. It's not something that I pick from other festivals or from other catalogs and say, oh, that might be interesting for our audience. But it's something that would love Chilean filmmakers and Chilean programmers to show to the Ukrainian audience. And the same was with the Ukrainian program. We also prepared the selection of films for our colleagues from FIDOCS and asked them to pick films that would be more or less relevant to the audience from Chile, and they actually finalized the selection with 3 Ukrainian films. And I'm really interested in how it will be perceived and how the audience will be reacting, because of course there are some kind of obvious choices, the new film by Mstislav Chernov was absolutely, it's not simply the film, it's also like an event in the cinematography. But there are also films that I hope they will be perceived really I hope nice, because to me it seems that this film, the Fragments of the Eyes by Maria Stoyanova, I hope it will be something that people from Chile can be identify themselves in terms of the form, because it also works with the archives. And I know that the Chilean documentaries are really often also work with archives, and the way how they actually trying to rethink the archives in the past, to sometimes to reconsider the past with the help of archives. It's something similar with the film Fragments of the Eyes by Maria Stoyanova. So I'm really curious how it will be. But hopefully we will be successful in bringing some Ukrainian perspective to the Chilean audience. Let's see.
No, great. And I found really interesting this kind of I don't know, like human rights film sometimes can have, I don't know, like more traditional classical structures of narratives that are more activist, whatever.
Yep.
But there, have you, in your work as a programmer, have you detected, I don't know, some tendencies in this new way of approaching these topics? I don't know, that for you are personally interesting? I don't know.
Yeah. This is what we're actually facing each year when we are like trying only starting working on our next edition. Then many of the filmmakers and distributors and rights holders are reaching us and ask, "Oh, I see that you're like the festival of the International Film Festival human rights documentaries. So that maybe you are not really interested in some kind of creative documentary." But it's the opposite.
That's what I mean. Yeah, for sure.
Nobody wants to see another one like TV documentary about some issues. It's simply boring.
Yeah.
You would not see. You would not stay for 1 hour or for 2 hours. Sometimes TV documentary in a theater. You can do this on your sofa at home. Watching and watching some Netflix or something like that. What the value of the festival? So of course we try to choose some films that are firstly, they should be like creative documentary, and on the second background, of course, it would be great if they also have some, human rights points. But it happens not really often that documentary can combine all of them. And at the moment, we still have, as a festival, we have a program that more or less focusing on this human rights perspectives, and people do expect that in this program you would probably face some films that are not really, high artistic expressions, but they're more a little bit like easier going in this way, but probably they have very strong stories. So to me, the documentaries on human rights at the moment mostly, of course, like in eastern part of Europe, they are mostly focusing on the war and on how the Ukrainian refugees are living in their other countries, but still, I mean, the world is much more bigger than simply the Eastern Europe and Ukraine. And also as a press lecture for Berlinale, I see an enormous amount of films that are still dealing with very important topics of ecological topics and climate crisis and the rethinking of the past and the dictatorships in different countries. Of course, the endless topic of corruption that is happening in each country, but still, I mean, I would not say that there is some trend or some tendency in having some kind of form for these films. But I would say that in Eastern Europe we have this trend of the topic.
But it's interesting what you're telling about how to combine this topic also with some experimentation or creative approach, so to connect with also different audience and different ways of telling and representing. So, no, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was really nice to talk to you, and it was really interesting conversation. And I really, really look forward to meet the audience of the FIDOCS and to see how they will perceive the films. And by the way, the whole program of the FIDOCS is really...
it's amazing.
it's amazing.
Enjoy the festival.
Thank you very much.